Well, that was awkward.
It's the Bullshirt podcast.
I was looking up. I posted on Twitter from the Bullshirt account. I was asking a question. I don't know that I've gotten many replies. It's something I've been asking people, like, and I find it interesting, and I know that we've touched on it before, but I was curious how people define masculinity.
It's how big your cock is.
Right? I mean, and
that's masculinity.
Right there. That's
how many
masculinity.
inches is your cock? That's how masculine you are.
If you ain't over 9 inches, you ain't no masculine. That's what you is.
Let me see how big your dick is.
Let me see how big your
dick.
Hey my God, guys. Let me see how big your dick is to prove you're masculine.
I'm going to get my popcorn out while Dan steps in this one.
Well, so it got brought back to my attention. I've mentioned before, right, that my ex and I had that conversation because that was one of her gripes, is she said I wasn't masculine enough, whatever that means.
Well, if you're going by my definition, then I'm really sorry to hear
that. So what is your definition of masculine? I'm curious.
How big your cock is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not 9 inches, so I'm willing to admit that. So I am not a masculine. It's a masculine now. I'm not even gonna.
A masculine.
I'm one of them mere masculines. And I've asked this question before, and people will make jokes and they'll be silly, but nobody will ever really answer me. And that's kind of proving my point, is that it's so subjective. People just don't even know they don't even know what masculine is. And then recently it got brought back to my attention again because of Ellen Page, or Elliot Page, which I think is what they're going by now. And I've made my opinions on the whole gender thing known before. I personally don't understand it. It doesn't bother me. Like I don't, none of that stuff bothers me because it's your choice. I don't care. The only thing that I get bothered by, and Adam and I talked about this, is like when people get mad at me for using the wrong pronoun. And it's like, well, I'm a there's a two gender kind of guy. That's just my opinion. I mean, no offense by that. I'm not angry with anyone. I don't think anyone should be allowed to be discriminated upon because they choose to be a different gender or
the
demisexual.
Bullshirt podcast email. I got the Gmail open now. It's flooding in.
So we don't have a Gmail. Do we have a Gmail?
Yeah, we do.
We have an @Bullshirtcast or something, but and I'm sure of the 7 people that actually listen to this podcast, one of them might get slightly triggered.
Twitter just hit us up and said we're canceled. We're deplatformed.
We've been blocked. Us and COVID-19. That's it. You can't talk about it. And so, but again, it brought back up that idea of masculinity, femininity. Excuse me. What's the difference? I was just looking. There was one person replied back. I'm not exactly a Twitter guru either, so I'm kind of sitting here trying to figure out how to fucking use the thing.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Forgot what they said though.
Yeah, he says masculinity is certain traits that we all have, irrespective of gender. And it's like, okay, there, Mr. Gupta.
Okay, not answering the question.
You didn't answer the question that I asked.
What a non-answer.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with that, right? It's @Bullshirtcast is our Twitter, @Bullshirtcast.
We couldn't do podcast because the handle was too long. They wouldn't let us do that.
And it says, I asked, what does the word masculinity mean to you? Do you believe in traditional gender roles? And yeah, that was the only answer that I got. And like you said, it was very much a non-answer. I agree with that, right? We all have a degree of masculinity and femininity, humans in general.
This dude has his photo is him giving a TED Talk.
TED Talk, yeah, I saw that. So it's a relationship and men's interpersonal coach, expert in the art of emotional communication. Says fucking who there, Mr. Gupta? Who says you're a fucking expert? You're obviously not an expert at communication with that non-answer motherfucker bullshit.
Well, hey.
Hey, I'm a little salty, okay? I'm salty.
You're always salty, but he gave a TED Talk.
Right, so I could give a TED Talk, a TEDx.
Dude, so there's a dude named Sam Hyde, right? And he gave a TED Talk by lying to them and saying that he was a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. And they let him on stage for like an hour, and all he did was talk about nothing for an hour and then leave.
Where's the goddamn, the fact checking? How? Oh, geez.
Well, that was his point. Like, Silicon Valley entrepreneurs getting on stage and giving a TED Talk doesn't automatically mean they have credentials.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to prove it. Anytime I read, I'm a big fan of self-help books. I know they've got a kind of a funny reputation, and you get your what's the guy's name with the
Tony Robbins?
There we go, Tony Robbins. You've got your Tony Robbins and your guys like that, and I think he's even got some merit. I mean, I think everybody's got a little merit.
Tony Robbins hungry.
Why do I feel like it's a Family Guy?
Because I said it. That's how you know it's a Family Guy bit, because I said it.
I ain't hating on you. I'm not. I've watched way more. I've watched way more Family Guy than is probably healthy. So
you've watched some Family Guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I still like the joke or whatever that said, or a comedian, he made a comment about how millennials are so easily triggered by everything, but they grew up on South Park and Family Guy. So,
well, the pendulum doesn't sit still; it swings one way to the other.
You know what else swings one way to the other?
Your cock.
My masculinity. Doug, I think you're on mute, Doug.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, now here comes the derail.
The D.
Give us the Doug rail.
Give us the D.
Rail. Who in the fuck shares porn to Facebook and Twitter? That's all I want to know.
The icon is only there for tracking. If they have a share to Facebook button, that means Facebook can track you across that site and see what you're looking at. No one's actually sharing it. It's just there to track you and give you ads on Twitter and Facebook.
I'm sure that some dumb fuck out there has turned around and shared that.
Of course. I mean, the button's there.
I told you I just shared a bunch of my bank information to Imager one time. So, I mean,
It's, Imager.com/A/FL capital Q R3 capital F.JPEG. You can have Dan's account number and routing number.
Bank information. Yeah, right. Please feel free to put as much into it as you want. You ain't going to get much out of it.
So those buttons are all about tracking. All I know is probably like 99.5% of America, as I have been enjoying special private alone time, that I have seen that button on there with fear while I'm sitting there going around clicking on different things, just hoping that I don't fuck up and click share to Facebook.
Well, it's not allowed on Facebook, but porn is absolutely 100% allowed on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've followed some porn stars before. So in the media section, that would be, titty cum
funny.
shots. Click. Oh God.
I think it would be funny.
I mean, can you imagine? So it's sitting there, and like your sister, your brother, your uncles, your mom, and everybody else is like, oh, Doug likes to watch videos about fucking feet. Yeah.
Midget cum shot compilations.
They need a LinkedIn share button.
I want to know what my potential employees are into. I ain't shaming you. I just want to know, like, the guy's qualified, but his porn is a little on the vanilla side. He's kind of boring. I'm not sure.
He's not a go-getter.
He's not a go-getter.
It's like, I'm not sure I want this guy. He likes to watch videos of women stepping on fruit while they're smoking cigarettes. And that's just weird.
Rule 34. We were having this conversation.
Sir, we can't hire you here at Dole. Why?
I really need to work here. You don't understand.
Guys, this is my dream job. You have no idea.
Do you have any women that take their shoes off here? No, get out. Stop it.
Do you have any that like to sit on cakes?
Good old Rule 34. I invoke that a lot anytime somebody brings up something really fucking weird. Because back in the days of earlier commercial internet, right? What everybody else is very familiar with now. I grew up without the internet, so as it became popular, there were there's still weird fucking sites out there, but you went looking for it. I mean, because you were morbidly curious, and things like rotten.com, sites like that.
yeah.
Search engines weren't as big back then.
No.
Everything was keywords. So whatever
Alta
in
Vista,
the world you
let's go.
found, it was practically like you had to get Scooby Doo in the game to help you hunt down something.
Yeah, before Google kind of revolutionized the old algorithm, he's right. It was trickier to find. So you guys like me, who are again morbidly naturally curious, would go looking for shit. And unfortunately, I found a lot of it. So you start to realize just how normal you are when you start to find really fucked up stuff and go, oh no, no.
Yeah, Google used to just be you typed random shit in the address bar and you would hit something.
I mean, I guess there's still some truth to that. Everything's so kind of bleached and cauterized now. I mean, Google really, to some degree, does have a lot of influence and control over the internet more than people realize, because they tell you what's out there and what's not, right? And
Yep.
Again, we've discussed this before with that documentary on Netflix and just our own general knowledge, and that's why, because I've had people ask me why uh, people are so wound up over like Google and Facebook and social media, and it's hard to explain to somebody who isn't internet savvy or data savvy, etc.
They're the gatekeepers.
But that's probably the most simplistic way of saying it. They're the gatekeepers. They tell you what does and does not exist. It's like I guess it's kind of like, now that I'm thinking about it, it reminds me a lot of terrestrial radio, FM radio, right? If you couldn't get your band onto an FM radio, that's creepy, Adam. Stop it. If you couldn't, Doug and Adam have discovered the backgrounds in Skype, and they're
My mic is like keyed out, so it's just this blue blob now
that he's caressing, and I don't know why. It's a lot like FM radio in that if you couldn't get your band on FM radio, your band didn't exist to the masses, and it's very similar. But we let FM radio do it for a long fucking time and didn't have a problem with it. So
that's where the pay to play payola, whatever it was, became such a huge scandal back in the day.
Mm-hmm. And it's always been that way, and it always will be. For those that don't know, I was going to say studios and production companies or agents, whatever, whoever stands to make money off of an artist, put it that way.
So not the artist.
So not the artist, right? Everybody else. They pay radio companies and MTV, back when they still did music. They paid large sums of money to get you on those mediums. And I've always told people that if I won some exorbitant amount of money, a couple $100 million or something, one of the things I would do as a musician, I would rent studio time. Actually, I just build a beautiful studio in my fucking house and get somebody to run it. And then I would just spend a shit ton of money on advertising myself out there. And I'd become popular, even though I'm a half-assed fucking musician. I would become popular because of money. I watched bands. I played with bands back in Ohio that were that way. They had deeper pockets than anybody else, and they were getting these opportunities. And it was like, these guys are not that good. What the fuck? And then you'd find out, oh, they paid $5,000 to play, 2 shows with a major label act like Disturbed or something like that. Monster Energy is big into that environment, right?
Fucking hate Monster Energy.
So I drink
As he takes a giant sip from his monster can.
right. We're gonna have to blur that out. So that makes me want to stream these. Yeah, it's we got sponsored, and I'm using quote fingers here, by Rockstar Energy, right? And all it really consisted of was them giving us some merch, their merch. And then whenever we'd play shows, we had to have these giant Rockstar can cutouts on the wings, you know. So we were sponsored by so we toted these things around, we toted all this stuff around, we set it up at our shows, etc. But we were sponsored by Rockstar, and I think our band name might have been buried somewhere on one web page of one website somewhere, and that was sponsored. So when you see these bands sponsored by somebody, just for fun, go ask them what exactly that entails and watch them just go, "Da," you know. Well, we do a lot of extra work to promote someone else, and they do dick. So it's
Yeah, that would be interesting to go see a concert now. That shit ain't happening.
no. And that you know, Spotify's been rolling out that, like, for me, it rolled out what I listened to, and you know, top songs and all that, which seemed kind of odd. Some of it I'm not sure I completely gather where they're coming from, but like Adam, as a content maker producer, it rolls up for you like how many songs
Yeah, it's
people
completely
streamed.
wrong.
There's been a few that I've seen posted that I thought was curious, but that example you had,
It was so wrong that I was like, there's no way the listener one's right. Because, like, so me and my buddy did this song that got like 200,000 plays, right? They're like, here's your fucking most streamed song. And it was like some song with 200 plays.
yeah. So you got to wonder where they're getting their data from. Like, what is it? Just a random number generator? And they're like, yeah, fuck it. Like, I didn't
Fuck
listen
it,
to
it's the
Celine
most streamed.
Dion. Yeah, yeah. So it's that, again. You gotta. It's I'm a facts and science and data guy, but like I said earlier, I like self help books, and I do. But one of the things about self help books is that anyone can write one. I could write one and be like, you know, 101 ways to not fucking suck. And it's just my opinion, really, at that point. I listened to one not too long ago and went and looked up a lot of what she said, and it turned out to be true. I was able to substantiate it. But as a reader, I shouldn't have to fucking do that, right? One of my favorite books that I tell people about all the time, that uh, guide, a men's guide to tactical, or a tactical guide to women. I don't know. I'm sure the author's loving that I'm butchering it, but
Yeah,
great.
tactical guide. You got to make sure you flank them around the fucking right side.
I like that, actually.
Fire off a mortar round as you're coming around.
Thump, incoming. It's kind of how I feel sometimes. But he, even in the audio book, he would make a claim, and then he would say, you know, Smith and Jones 1986, right? He would footnote, credit the research and where he got that research. And people just don't do that. Even with facts, they just blurt them out, and you're supposed to just believe it. Again, goes back to the TED Talk, TEDx. Now I feel like we should do a TEDx on. We'll do it on like podcasting, media, social media, or something. We'll just get up there and be like, babble, 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 babble. I mean, we do it every day.
It's like this.
So, guys, here we go.
In 1987,
with the first podcast in 1987. that was when the first podcast. You know, it's interesting because I remember when podcasts were coming out, and I believe it was Apple, wasn't it? Where that kind of either did the first podcast or popularized the podcast. I don't remember. Look at us doing podcasts. We don't even know where our history is.
it was like Adam Curry, and he was definitely like really friendly with Apple. Yeah.
So, and I remember
I've got all these fucks, so
the first,
like, I don't really care.
well, it's the point is that I remember when they first came out and I had no interest in them. I thought they were silly. Like, what the fuck's the point of a podcast? What is this? And I looked and I was like, what? This is dumb. Who wants to sit and listen to somebody fucking talk? And then I'd turn around and, turn on the TV or the fucking radio or,
Well, it's dumb when you have to download. Like back then, it didn't make much sense, right? Because like you could turn on the radio and stream someone talking, but
yeah.
you had to download like this 3 hour fucking audio file of someone talking. It's completely different now that you can just stream everything that you want. In
That's a
my
good
opinion,
point too. And that may have been what it was like. Why would I do that? And now here I are expecting other people to do that. But you're right. It has definitely, evolved, and anyone, I've got buddies that are, huge football nerds, played all through middle and high school, little college ball, whatever, huge into football. And I was explaining Zencaster to them because when they found out that I did a podcast, they, oh man, me and so would love to do that, but we just don't know how. I was, brother, just go to Zencaster, do the thing. One of you get a premium account, and I said, go from there. I can explain Pinecast and all that to you. But the the cool thing about podcasts now is that, again, it is giving anybody a chance, an opportunity to put themselves out there as a product and see what happens. Same with bands. SoundCloud, one of their more popular genres now is, what was it? Bedroom something. It's basically just kids that have made shit, in their bedroom on the
yeah,
various recording. And some of it's
bedroom pop.
fucking bedroom pop. And some of it's pretty fucking good, dude. Like the bones are there and you could see them getting picked up and doing something with it.
When you allow everybody in the world to create something, you get really good shit floating to the top because just the amount of content's ridiculous. Like eventually, like you're gonna end up having someone who's super good at something if you give everybody the ability to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think YouTube has shown that too. I've followed some YouTube channels that the content on there. I know Doug's a big fan of like what's his name, Linus Tech Tips, and what's that other one that you?
I've got a bunch. Linus Tech Tips, and I think they're up to God. Last time I even checked, they were like 7 million subscribers or something like that.
And
I
they've got their
also
own
follow Jay's 2 Cents, Gamers
Gamers
Nexus.
Nexus was the other one I was thinking of. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that one I remember watching one of their videos, like some of those guys share a studio or something like that. But I mean, they had a full blown office with like warehousing and stuff like that. I watch a guy, the Harley Tech, and he used to work for a Harley dealership in Georgia. And he would do these great, like the shop let him do these great videos inside the mechanic shop showing how to do things and stuff like that. And then he went off and now he's got his own shop. And it's just one of those things. And partially because of YouTube and the popularity of it and the endorsements and things like that he's gotten. And I think it's neat because to me, I want good quality content. I don't give a fuck if it's from you in your basement. I don't give a
I
fuck
hate
if it's,
I
go ahead.
hate having quality content.
I hate, right?
Like
I want garbage that's shoved down my throat by corporate
I want the
entities.
production value to be nothing. That's the real lo-fi kind of content that I'm going for.
Lo-fi. And you know what's funny is that, and Adam may or may not remember this, but public access television, right? I remember public access television. You had a channel on your TV that was just, think Wayne's World. It was somebody in the basement with a couple of cameras, and it was definitely YouTube, as close to YouTube as you were going to get, right? And again, I can't off. Of course, I'm going blank, but there have been some really good things that have gotten picked up because of that, right? And I'm sure that there's a lot of indie music and things like that. There was better content with some of this stuff than there was with the big studios and things like that. Because again, I think the studios are going for that lowest common denominator. They're going for
Well, they exist to make money,
Right. And
so they
only
don't
to
want to
make
take any
money.
risk.
Right.
Or growing up in Alabama, our public access stuff was just shit. I mean, it was just shit. It was, it was either the local church stuff,
Yeah.
which was pretty much all the time, and high school football games here and there. And that's about it. I would have killed for, somebody to have actually tried to do some kind of a show on that. But where I grew up, if somebody would have tried to do that on a public access channel and it wasn't all about
Oh
Jesus,
yeah.
it wouldn't have freaking went anywhere. The closest thing that we had to what I would consider a public access program was locally in Alabama. There was this guy who was deep into country, and he was from like Hayden, Alabama, or something. And everybody called him Country Boy Eddie, and he was like old as dirt. He was always sponsored by like Justin Boots and shit. And besides Justin Boots, it was and what makes me remember that program is he was always advertising this stuff that was like prune juice and something else, and they called it jogging in a jug. Joggin a jug. Jogging in a jug. You need to go down and get you some jogging in a jug.
Jog all that stuff loose for you.
Jogging in a jug.
Yeah, and they just sat around and they would have like steel guitars and banjos and all other sorts of stuff, and they would have just people show up and play on the Country Boy Eddie program.
Well, you guys have seen Eric Andre, right?
Eric Andre?
So this dude has this Adult Swim show, and it's basically him trying to create what a public access show would be if the dude doing it was like on acid, basically. So like he brings people on, and when he first started, like it was way funnier because no one knew what it was yet. So he has this really shitty like 80s set behind him, and in the middle of them talking, he would like bring out a chainsaw and chainsaw his desk in half.
To me, that smacks of like the shock jock type thing, and for some reason I've never been a fan of that. Like I understand why people are, but even like the Borat type stuff, where it's just nonsense. I've just never found that shit amusing. Again, I definitely understand the market for it, why people enjoy it, but I never have. And just like that, someone comes out and chainsaws their desk, I'll be like, that's dumb.
But if the chainsaw is 3 feet from your face while you're sitting there trying to do an interview, you would probably be pretty shocked.
Yeah, probably more annoyed than shocked. But
what is he doing? And he's like, all right. And then he just sits there with his fucking desk like in half, like, okay, tell me more about this new album you're working on.
See, and I guess the fact is that I know it's for the shock value, and so therefore it loses the shock value.
Yeah.
When somebody does that, and then they sit and they stare at you like, oh, nothing just happened. I didn't just take a chainsaw and cut my desk in half. It's like, okay, now it's contrived. You're trying way too fucking hard. Now, I do find it funny when dumb shit happens and everyone just sits there like, huh. Like, because they just don't know where to go with it after that. But the contrived shit never, I don't know. Like I said, like, do you feel better now that you cut your fucking desk in half?
He does feel better.
Do you feel better? So yeah, I think that, I think things like SoundCloud and YouTube and all that I think it's awesome. I really do. I think that the ability that I can sit here and pop off at the fucking mouth for an hour with you guys and put it up online, and I don't care if anyone's listening or not. It's fun for me to do it. The few people that I've gotten feedback from tend to be amused by it. You guys are funny. And I was like, well, we thought so. Doug and I talked about
you gotta tell him. You gotta tell him. Funny how?
Funny how? Do I amuse you?
Clown, huh?
Do I amuse you? Because if so, that's fine. I don't care. It's contribute to my Patreon. So like and subscribe. So
contribute to my Patreon.
I've definitely ruined any chances of me running for politics, but that was pretty much out the fucking door.
When you weren't born a sociopath, you kind of ruined your chances right
of
there.
being a successful politician.
That's when it all fell apart.
Yeah, that's a fairly good point. I think that everything going on right now, it it just continues to devolve. You've got dude saying that uh, Trump should uh, declare martial law and redo the uh, uh, election. I'm like, wow, that's textbook fascism. You do
Martial
realize
law
that,
doesn't
right?
make him remain president.
Doesn't. I mean, there's
Well, it doesn't because
clauses.
he wasn't voted to be president, so we'd be under martial law, and then Biden would take over.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Since Adam's a constitutional law expert here.
Well, what is martial law going to do?
Well,
Lock everybody down?
what the guy was, and I can't think of his fucking name.
It gives him a list of powers.
Yeah.
It was Flynn. Yeah, Flynn the fucknuts. Yeah. But,
it was.
I've been trying to avoid talking about politics here recently because it's like I have been so, it's like I still read a lot of stuff. I still keep up with a lot of it. But everything that's going on right now is just a fucking sideshow. Yeah. And if you paid too much attention to it, you get sucked into that, and it's like I'm just sitting here. I'm just waiting for the cake to bake.
January 20th. Just getting there.
Yeah, it's the cake hasn't even started to rise yet, but at this point, everything as far as politics wise, everything with the Republican Party. Well, not everything with the Republican Party, because there's obviously many different factions inside of it. But it's interesting to watch some of the infighting while you have the "we're going to deny reality" camp goes up against the "are you fucking kidding me" camp.
Well, and you make a point when you're inundated by it, right? As far as Flynn running off at the mouth, it ain't going to happen, right? The military isn't going to support it. The president can do whatever he wants with martial law and all that, but when a bunch of 4-star generals fold their arms and go, "Yeah, no," then you're not going to get buy-in, right? Same with Burr, whatever, the one that was like, he should such and such should be drug out and shot, and he's a fucking moron, talking about how basically the head of God, I don't have my facts straight today. Anyway, basically someone in office said, there was no this was a good, safe election. There was no bullshit. And then another from that camp that Doug just mentioned of, "are you fucking kidding me?" Rolled up and said, "Oh, that guy should be shot. Fuck him." And people don't realize that when you pop off at the mouth like that, and your voice is being heard by that many millions and millions of people, you're going to get this subsection of nut jobs that really buy into it. And somebody's going to get hurt, right? And somebody's going to get hurt is what it boils down to.
Well, let's say, for instance, that for whatever reason, we immediately become like super rock star Joe Rogan popular. And all of a sudden we go from having however many listeners that we've got now to, something ridiculous like 25 million. There will be, some crazies scattered amongst those 20 to 25 million. And if I said something like, I'm not even going to name anybody, and we're not that popular. Person
but we're X, still careful about what we say, right?
Yeah, person X should be, shot, hung, whatever else. There is somebody that's going to take that seriously because they are suffering from a, lack of reality in their own mind. And, they think blah, blah, blah is just the cat's meow. Yeah. And I totally agree with everything that comes out of their mouth. And then somebody would invariably wind up doing something towards whoever in the hell that person is. And because those words fell out of your mouth, you incited all that shit. Would I want to be responsible for somebody's death? No. But certain people that I don't like, would I be terribly amused if they
if something
they
bad
went to
Schadenfreude?
Yeah, like if they went up to somewhere where there's fucking lions and tigers and shit, and they jump the fence because they think they're the world's biggest whatever, and not even animals would mess with them, and they go to pet the tiger and it tears their fucking arm off and they bleed out on the floor, I would laugh hysterically.
And we've had this discussion, and I hate that I do it, but I'm the same way. When an asshole gets what's coming to him, it amuses the fuck out of me. Like, it's hard for me. I am an empathetic person. I really am. I feel for people. I don't want to hurt people. I feel like I do have a moral obligation, like Doug said, that if I say something or do something and it influences people in a negative way, that doesn't make me happy. And I try carefully not to be that person. It's inevitable that you might say something and hurt someone's feelings, or someone might misconstrue it. And that is what it is. You can't control that, but you can watch your mouth and make sure you don't say stupid shit like so-and-so should be hung or shot or, whatever. But when an asshole gets what's coming to him, you can call it Schadenfreude. You can call it whatever you want. But I find it fucking amusing. It's like he said, guy walks into a fucking gorilla's cage, says, "Fuck you, I'm the baddest mother." Oh God, oh God, oh God.
Yeah, and then when he rips off your leg and fucking beats you to death with it, I just think that's the greatest thing in the world, especially, and it's like, I know that there's some tragedy involved here, but when somebody dies trying to take a selfie, literally killed by their own vanity, I think it's the fucking funniest thing in the entire world. I will throw this out there. I am the weird guy that periodically, once every 2 or 3 months, I'll go to Google News and I will go Google shot in the face, because some of those fucking stories are some of the funniest shit to me. And yes, I understand that somebody got shot in the face, but you would be shocked how many motherfuckers get shot in the face and live, because they get like shot in the jaw or in the cheeks or something else, But I love all that.
It's the
stuff.
ones that are doing stupid shit. And it's like you talk about the social media influencers and all that. Of course, I don't think any of us revel in the misery of the family, the person that lost their lives and all that, right? I understand that.
No.
But when
I feel sorry
for the family, right? And that's the shitty part about it, right? Is the family has to suffer. But like you said, when you see somebody that...
The sad part is the family was probably suffering before they fucking croaked, but that's just some honesty.
There's a level of, well, what the fuck did you expect? Right? I mean, you climbed out on this thing and you did this stupid shit and you did it. It's actually kind of sad, actually. And I'll tell you why, is because when we look at these people who need the attention and they want the attention of being an influencer and all that. And it's sad because they have no real self-confidence, right? They were raised by narcissists. They're people pleasers. They need that. And that's kind of sad, actually, when you really think about it.
Well, it's validation. Yeah. And one of the things that, for me, to go back to your original discussion of what is masculinity? Masculinity for me is, I really don't care if you validate me or not. I don't care if I'm popular or not. And by and large, 99.99, stretch that out as far as you want to go, of society, people, and everything else do not give a fuck about my feelings.
Yeah. True story.
And it's not just because I'm some random dude nestled in whatever else and I'm covered up by all these numbers. No, it's because I'm a man. And that's one of the things when we start to get into certain discussions about, somebody declaring they're of the opposite gender. For me, it's like I really don't give a shit. It's like you can do whatever you want to do that makes you happy. But from the outside looking in, it seems like what's wanted by any side that's apparently what well, I'm sort of going around in circles here. Let me cut to the chase. It's like they're picking at the buffet of what masculinity is. I don't want this, but I want this piece and this piece and this piece. And it's like you can be a dude, you can be a fucking unicorn, you can be whatever you want, but it's like the way, it's like I'll treat you with your preferred pronoun, but the way, I may be wrong. I'm a 46-year-old white guy
from Alabama.
From Alabama. So, but it seems like there's a lot of groups that want to pick and choose, and they want all the privileges, but none of the drawbacks. Because if I'm upset or I'm having a bad day or whatever else, Dan and Adam might give a fuck. There's a couple of people that might give a fuck.
The majority of the world doesn't care. You're right.
The majority of the world doesn't care. I can go on Twitter or Facebook or anything and talk about how upset I am by something or how much something disturbs me. And I accept the fact that by and large, nobody gives a fuck.
And that's one of the things that I've noticed before. And I especially noticed when I was waiting tables and you get this diverse group of people and you're interacting with them. And one of the things that I noticed when you start to refer to gender and stuff like that is there's this amplification of what the person thinks that it is. And especially I've seen this a lot. There was a guy that I used to work with, and turns out he was gay, and I had no fucking clue. He dipped. He played football through high school. I went over and helped him drop the transmission on an old Ford F-150, like a 20-year-old Ford, right? And one day he just flat out, we were talking, and he had been joking, trying to tell me that he was gay, and I just wasn't catching it. And one day he just stops me. He says, "Dan, I love the cock." And I was like, oh, all of a sudden, like my brain in those movies, how just you see the solar expanse. And I was just like, yeah. And I was like, holy shit. And then not too long after that, people love coming out to me, and it's happened a lot. And a lot, most of the times though, and I go back to my point, is that a lot of the times I already knew because they amplified the men that were very effeminate, the women that go butch is typically called, right? And I feel like they're amplifying what they believe is the gender that they want to emulate. But again, there was a woman that she came out to me, and I had asked her why she didn't take a manager position at this other store. And she's like, "Can I tell you a secret?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." She goes, "Well, I'm dating the head chef up there," or whatever. I was like, "Oh, okay. Wait, the head chef up there's a woman." And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, but she was what they call a lipstick lesbian. She was very effeminate, very, purple rainbows and fucking unicorns, the whole 9 yards. And the point is that made me realize that you don't know when someone is gay, transgender, etc., because not everybody broadcasts it the same way. A matter of fact, the guy I was telling you about, he used to get irritated when effeminate men would come into the restaurant, and he'd run his mouth. And I'm not going to repeat the shit he said because I'm just not gonna. So, and I'd be like, "Dude, why does that make you so mad? Like, why does that bother you so bad?" Anyway, he had his reasons, but it was just really interesting to me because all my life, because I grew up in the middle of nowhere, fucking Ohio, right next to West Virginia, all right, which ain't much different than sticks of Alabama, to be completely honest with you. And I
Nope.
had my preconceived
Wait.
idea.
Are you saying fuck West Virginia?
Oh, definitely fuck West Virginia and everyone who lives in it, especially
Okay,
if,
I just wanted to make sure
yeah,
I
or has
was
ever
I was
lived in it,
okay.
or if they're from West Virginia and they smoke, that's even worse. All right. I'm just putting that out there. I have a
Okay.
checklist. I have a
Good,
checklist.
good, good, good.
I'm going to get assassinated. But so I had my preconceived ideas of what a lot of things were. And
Mhm.
I think that's why you see in your bigger cities, you tend to see more understanding and more tolerance, et cetera, is because when you bump up against somebody day in and day out and they're gay or trans or it's oddly enough, Alabama, one of the bands, I got into a band for a short time down there, and there was a band called Voices in the Trees. And the lead singer, we were, they went on before us, and the voice, the mannerisms, the look, I thought that the singer was a biological female, and the singer was not a biological female. She has since gone through, or is going through, gender reassignment. And I remembered thinking, of all the places for me to run into this, fucking Alabama. Like, I could not imagine what she was going through. And it's funny because I
In
very
Alabama.
easily use the pronoun she with her because I've never seen her as a man under like it the mannerisms, and they were very natural. Um, the just everything about her was feminine. And again, my definition of feminine, right? Because again, I'm learning it's very subjective. But yeah, Alabama of all the fucking places. And I remember she told me one time,
Mhm.
because I met her dad, and she told me, she said, yeah, my dad's always been very, very supportive of this. And I think there's genetics involved anyway with all of that. I think there's a lot of genetics involved. And I think sometimes when parents are supportive, I think it's because they've had their own feelings or their own questions, etc. And I even think the parents that push against it as bad as they do, just like the gay senator who wants to ban all homosexuals and throw them in pits of fire, and then they get busted in a 50-man
You know,
orgy.
yeah, getting their dick sucked in a fucking rest area bathroom. Yeah,
Exactly. I do. I think that
that,
they,
that's the kind of shit that happens all the time, and that's another one of those things that I
the
love. It's like, oh yeah, you hate the gays, right? Oh yeah, you.
totally hate it.
Oh, it turns out that that's just self hatred.
There was
Okay,
just
yeah.
another one, another country. I keep wanting to say Israel or something like that. I don't. You can look it up, but he was very outspoken on homosexuals and everything, and he got busted apparently running out of some 20-man uh, gay orgy. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, I expect that now. When somebody is just like, homosexuals are the cause of all bad things in the world. They caused COVID. They caused 5G. It's all bad. I'm just like, you love the cock, and that's okay.
Oh
Come
yeah.
on out and say, hey, I love the cock, because I don't care. And if people do care, fuck them. If it's your religion, if it's your just your belief system, whatever, fuck you. Quit worrying about what other people are fucking doing. If they're not trying to touch fucking kids or hurt other people, it's none of your fucking business. And where they push their agenda, everybody pushes a fucking agenda. Everybody. We all have agendas that we fucking push, right? It's just human nature that we want things to be what we're comfortable with, what we're happy with, etc. I do
Well,
it, you do it.
everyone fights for the rights that benefit them.
Right.
Like, you don't see a lot of dudes fighting for women's rights. You see some, but for the majority, it's women.
Right. Absolutely.
So, like, for the most part, I mean, someone has to be pushing their agenda, and it's usually going to be the people that actually have a stake in the issue being solved.
I'm a big proponent of gun rights.
Well,
I mean, I want to be able to own guns, etc. And there are groups out there that are absolutely anti-gun. And you know what? I support them in the sense that you have the right to push against me and say whatever you want to say, as long as you keep it factual and you keep, I've seen some shit that I've been like, you what? Keep the shit factual. That's one of the things that I am most proud of the United States, is that we have all these groups that can discuss and push their agenda without, disappearing, without being thrown in a fucking gulag somewhere. I think that's an awesome fucking thing. So I support their right to say it. I think that they're dumb and I don't agree with them, but I agree with your
Well, if you
with
thought
your
they were
idea.
really smart, you'd probably be on their side.
Fair enough, right? My God, you're smart, but I disagree with you. I've disagreed with some pretty smart fucking people over
Fair
certain
enough,
things.
yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
and maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong. I don't know. I try to stay tempered. I try to, for as emotional as I can get and angry as I can get, I do try to see everybody's point of view. And 99 times out of 100, I go, and you guys know this, I play devil's advocate and I'll say, all right, I mean, I see where they're coming from. However, there are sometimes like, nah,
Well,
nope.
I like devil's advocate because there's nothing I hate more than watching like 6 people stand around and just stroke each other's cock over how right they all are about something. It's like there's no one here on the other side of this, and they're like, yeah, because we're all fucking right. It's like,
Right.
okay, well, hear me out, and then they just start yelling at me. So.
I've seen you do it, and I've not only seen it, I've encouraged it, agged it on, went and popped fucking popcorn, because I'm the same way, and I know it gets on people's nerves, and that's really not my point. My point is that I don't always have to agree. Was it Chris Rock that had the shtick about, I ain't saying it's okay, but I understand. And it, even with murder, I mean, I've seen some murders that I'd be like, I ain't saying it's right, but I can see why she did it. that dude was a fuckstick, and no one
Well,
would stop him.
that entire sentiment is why the show Snapped exists.
Fair enough, right? I mean, again, I'm not saying it's right, but there are some situations where there was in the news this year, the woman that killed her abuser. I think he raped her, or was raping her, molesting her, whatever. It was a black woman, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
she murdered the motherfucker. And they're like, oh, they're putting her in prison, all that. And I'm like, okay. I'm going to throw the Chris Rock argument out there. I ain't saying that what she did was okay, but at what point is that kind of abuse? I just, at what point, when the police won't listen, I mean, you better have some solid fucking evidence before you do it to convince me, and not just like, nah, Doug sucked, so I murdered him. What did he do? He touched fucking puppies and stuff. I don't even know.
Well, the thing is like with that's where the jury of 12 should come in, because uh, they can charge whoever
Right.
with whatever, and it doesn't matter which side is right or wrong, because you have lawyers that, regardless of what they believe about the facts, have to argue their side
Yeah.
of the case.
And
So,
murder is murder. I mean,
that's where
if
that
she murdered
jury,
someone, she is
yeah,
guilty of
that's
murder. And then it's like, okay, sentencing. Nah, time served. She's good.
well,
She's good.
it's it at that point, you can get a jury that says not guilty. Yeah, she did kill somebody, but they may personally believe
Yeah.
that it's justifiable
Yeah.
homicide. So it's not even the fact that, yeah, she's guilty of murder, but time served, because, under that circumstance, let's say, and I realize I haven't been, had all the facts of this case put in front of me.
No, that's how America does
So
it
I
now.
can't
It's fine. Whatever your opinion is perfectly
totally,
fine. Go for it.
but if I've got someone that's being abused, that's being whatever, and they have tried to get recourse from the system, or they were in a situation where they believed that their life was in danger, yeah, if I'm on that jury, they're walking.
Yep. Same. I'm not gonna,
How do you judge so when they're picking jurors to let go, do you have to pick ones that are like in that particular circumstance? Like, how do you feel about rapists? I don't like them. You can go. You've been dismissed.
Well,
Like, how are you going to find fit jurors for this?
the prosecutor and the defense each get their opportunity to kick, right? And yeah, to some degree, that does happen. They're going to go in and say, you know, what are your you say that, right? Because we all agree that rape is bad, but there are plenty of men out there that don't really believe in the idea of rape. She wanted it. She had it coming. If she really didn't, she could have done this. She could have done that. And that's one side of it's going to look for that aspect of it, and then the other side's going to try to wean that out. Because like I said, you're coming from a place that you believe that we're all, moral, decent fucking
that would
human
be
beings.
The fucked up jury by the time they were done letting people go.
It would definitely be, it would be interesting. Nobody ever wants to be on a jury with me, because if anybody could hang a jury, it would be me. Because again, I devil's advocate, right? And if somebody says,
and you get time off work.
Oh yeah, but you got to be sequestered and all that weird shit too. So I've only, to date, I've only been summoned one time, and I never even had to go. It was pushed out, and by the time it got to like my date range, they didn't even have any cases nothing to try for a jury or whatever. I've had friends that have been on some like very serious fucking murder trials and shit. And they're like, yeah, dog, I can't fucking discuss anything but wow. I was like, okay, I get it. And I would never ask somebody to. That's it's a fucked up thing. And I think that I think serving on a jury it is important. And I think that you should take it seriously, because someday you might be the motherfucker on the other side of that equation. I mean, you say, oh, no way, man, shit happens, weird shit can fucking happen in a heartbeat. And you could be that fucking dude on the other end, 12 people. I tell the story of when I lived in Florida, there was a guy that this was all caught on a state highway patrol's dash cam. He stops this guy. The guy gets out. They scuffle. The guy is winning, and he's got the cop on the ground. He's just beating the shit out of him, and he's trying to get his gun out of the holster. Those holsters are designed to where there's a very specific angle that they will and will not come out at.
It's usually a twist and pull.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, right? And
there's some that have buttons. There's
Serpa.
There's lots.
So
of
the guy couldn't
types.
get his gun out, but he's just beating the shit out of this dude, and he's actively trying to get the guy's gun. Well, you hear somebody off camera start talking, and he's screaming, "Get off of him! Get the fuck off of him!" He says, "I will shoot! I will shoot!" And he kind of comes into frame, and it's a guy with a pistol, and he's telling this guy, who's again just actively guerrilla beating this fucking cop. He keeps telling him, "Get off of him, or I'm going to shoot you! I'm going to shoot you!" The guy doesn't stop, so eventually the other guy pulls trigger a couple times, turns the motherfucker off like a light bulb. To me, justifiable, right? I mean, just despite your opinions on cops, if you've got a guy just, guerrilla beating some motherfucker trying to get his gun, no, that's not how we do things, right? Period. And so he shoots him, and it took them 6 months to decide whether or not they were even going to press charges on the guy who shot a dude who was beating a fucking cop half to death, caught on the cop's dash cam. Like, I don't know how much more solid evidence you could have.
Well,
and it still took him 6 months.
Depends on how much money you have for a lawyer, as far as like.
That's true too, right? You got the public. I mean, these public people don't realize these public defendants and shit. Defenders. Defender.
Yeah.
The public defenders come in. They're doing hundreds, thousands of fucking cases a year, and they're getting reelected and things like that is all based on a win-lose ratio. And so that's why you're going to take more plea deals, is because, well, I got him off of murder. It's like, yeah, but.
Well, the thing is like with the public defenders, they just really don't have. It's a simple matter of time.
There's that too, sure.
If you've got, let's say you're a public defender, and you've got 30 cases on your docket that week that you're going to have to appear in court on, how much time do you really have to prepare? And so if you really don't have time to prepare, you're going to encourage someone to take a plea deal. And unless, there's something in there that's blatantly obvious, how in the shit did this slip through, and literally it's got to be the thing on that first piece of the paper that they're reading in your fucking file.
First sentence is like, yeah, no.
So that's, and that's also why poor people that tend to get railroaded by the judicial system, because they don't have the money to go out and hire someone who can actually spend time on their case.
You're paying them for their time at that point, right? And gee, weird, it's minorities. Well, go figure. On dumb fucking little drug charges. So, whatever.
Well, we hit an hour. Are we going to keep running? Or,
I don't like you guys that much. I don't want to spend my Friday with you.
And I'm starting to get hungry. I'm a
We're all hungry. Like, oh. So, all right, I'm going to go maybe make another burrito. So, it's been real, gentlemen.
Oh, are we doing the...
Adam has so much power and control.